My name is Gavin, and for a long while, marriage looked like something that would hold together on its own. No one steps into it expecting a crash. Sometimes it just comes apart softly, in the quiet places. The night my wife stayed out until morning against my concerns, against what I had asked, the fallout that followed wasn't the outcome she imagined. When Sienna and I got married 5 years ago, it felt like the pieces finally clicked where they were meant to go. I'd look at her and think, this is the kind of love people write songs about. We were those lovebirds. Friends teased the pair that did nearly everything together without getting bored of it. Back then, Sienna was more than my wife. She was my closest friend, the person whose voice carried a sincerity that settled me. We weren't flawless, but we were deliberate and gentle with each other. Looking back, that early version of us is the one that stings the most to remember, precisely because it was so good, so unforced, so genuine, which makes everything afterward harder to swallow. We didn't start broken. We chose one another, and for a while, we chose well. But time, influence, and hairline cracks left unaddressed can gnaw at even the strongest foundation. As the years moved, a gradual shift began to show in Sienna's behavior. It didn't hit like a bolt. It accumulated like dust. Her friend circle was the first signal. I didn't clock it at once. Everyone has friends. But these weren't the same women she'd always known. They were newer people from work and social mixers, and something in the way they carried themselves around marriage rubbed wrong. Many were married, sure, but their attitudes toward their husbands were off-kilter. I remember sitting in the other room, while Sienna and a couple of them had wine in the living room. I wasn't trying to listen, but walls don't hold back laughter. The jokes they made pitched husbands as burdens, or clowns, as men not worth taking seriously. I heard them laugh about teaching lessons by withholding affection. It didn't sound like harmless venting. It sounded like disrespect dressed up as girls' night. After a few of those evenings, I took Sienna aside and asked plainly for caution. "I'm not trying to pick your friends for you," I said, "but the way they talk isn't healthy. That stuff sticks whether anyone admits it or not." I reminded her, a marriage can't be a team if we keep sitting in rooms where our partners are ridiculed behind their backs. I was asking for awareness, not obedience. She laughed like I'd told a joke. "What?" she said. "You scared I'm talking about you when I'm with them?" I told her I was serious, that this was about care, not control. She brushed it off anyway and turned the whole thing into a punchline. I let it go to keep the peace, even though I could feel the peace thinning. Over time, those friends' views bled into our home. Sienna began picking at small things, how I made decisions, how I supposedly acted like my opinion was the only one that mattered. I was stunned, because that wasn't our reality. I'd always seen us as partners. I reminded her I wasn't dismissing her. I simply disagreed sometimes. That's where it grew harder. It wasn't that she wanted a voice. She wanted the final voice. Whenever I didn't align with her opinion, she'd get upset and recast me as controlling. These weren't quick disagreements. They stretched for days like pulled wire. The house went quiet but tense, a cold war of sighs and doorways. I'd suggest something practical. She'd counter with an angle that felt purely emotional or flatly unrealistic. If I didn't fold, she'd double down like I was silencing her, rather than simply seeing it differently. It stopped feeling like building a life and started feeling like proving who was in charge. I wasn't angling to control her, but the more I explained that, the more it got twisted into me demanding submission. My way, dressed up as our way. There were days I sat alone after an argument trying to reverse engineer how we had gone from being one another's safe place to creeping around each other's fragility under the same roof. Each time I reached out to fix it, Sienna seemed to pull farther away, convinced I was the problem to be managed instead of a partner to be met. One Saturday, I came out of the bedroom on my way to the kitchen and heard her voice in the living room. She was on the phone, and I knew it was one of those friends. I wasn't setting out to eavesdrop, but the word divorce froze me in the hallway. I leaned on the frame, out of sight, and kept listening. Her friend sounded almost giddy. She said she had finally filed for divorce, and it wasn't the filing that turned my stomach. It was the tone. There was no sadness or grief. No, how did we get here? Just laughter and buzz over what she was about to claim. "I'm going after half of everything," she said, proud. "I deserve it all after what I've been through." I didn't know their story. Maybe she had reasons. But hearing someone talk so lightly about tearing apart a life with someone they once claimed to love shook me. Sienna laughed along, agreed, cheered, stoked her up. That's what scared me. I stood there wondering if she was entertaining the same calculus. I didn't bring it up. I held it in and started seeing our arguments through a new lens. Each fight had me wondering whether she was building a case and waiting for the right trigger, like her friend. I didn't feel safe in my own marriage anymore. I stopped discussing major financial moves with her. I stopped putting money into anything easily split in court. I began protecting what I had worked for, not out of spite, but survival. When it starts to feel like someone might be looking at you as a resource before a person, you move differently. That call flipped a switch. I never told her I heard it. I just prepared for the possibility that one day she'd try to leave with more than a suitcase. I quietly consulted a lawyer. I wanted to know the worst-case scenario if Sienna filed, what I could lose, what I needed to understand. Sitting there felt strange, charting disaster contingencies for a marriage I still wanted to survive. I still had hope, in a way. But I listened and learned. At that point, I'd been planning a big purchase house for us. After that consultation, I froze everything. I didn't put down a dime. The lawyer made it plain. If we split and the house became marital property, it would be divided. Full stop. And that wasn't all. I separated finances more carefully. I stopped moving money into our joint account. I shifted investments towards safer structures. I avoided buying things that would automatically fall into the hours bucket. It wasn't because I stopped believing in marriage. In truth, it hurt. Each decision in that direction felt like stepping away from my vows. But ignoring the signs would have been choosing fantasy over stewardship. Part of me prayed Sienna would come to her senses and remember who we were before the noise and bitterness, that we'd be a team again. The other part prepared because love without security is only wishful thinking, and I was tired of living in a house built on hope alone. One evening after work, I walked in expecting a quiet, ordinary night. Instead, I found Sienna in front of the bedroom mirror, wearing a tight-fitted dress I'd never seen. She looked stunning. Undeniably. And for a moment, I just stood there taking her in. Right behind that was confusion and concern. That dress was designed to turn heads, and I knew immediately the night would be different. I asked gently, "Where are you going dressed like that?" She didn't even look at me at first, finished a layer of lip gloss and said, "It's none of your business." A knot of feelings pulled tight in me. I didn't argue. I didn't want to drift into another marathon fight. Maybe she saw I wasn't stepping into the usual loop because her tone shifted and she said it was a birthday party. Just a girl's thing. That it might last all night. Still, everything about her posture said, "Don't bring your feelings into this." I told her I wasn't comfortable with her going out like that. I was speaking as a husband whose footing felt like it was giving way. She didn't want to hear it. She rolled her eyes and hissed air through her teeth, turned back to the mirror, adjusted her hair, checked her makeup once more, grabbed her purse and keys, and walked out. After the door closed, I sat in the living room for what felt like hours. The house was silent, but my head was loud. I replayed the trail that led here, the arguments, the dismissal in her eyes, the feeling of being a stranger in my own marriage. Something snapped inside me, like a rope that had been stretched too thin for too long. I didn't want to admit it, but I'd been clinging to hope past its strength. The woman I married kept moving farther from the person I knew. Those friends weren't just bad influences anymore. They were mirrors. Her leaving that night said how far she'd gone, and how I'd stayed while getting pushed out slowly. I stood, walked to the bedroom, and stared at our things. I opened the closet and took only what I needed. Before leaving, I sat at the dining table and wrote, "I've tried to make this work, but I see now you've made your choice. I'm done trying. I'm leaving, and I won't be carrying the burden of your disrespect anymore. Good luck." I folded the note, put it where she would see it, and left. At a nearby hotel, I sat with my phone longer than I'd admit. Some part of me still hoped for a call, a text, even a clumsy, "Where are you?" Nothing came that night. By the second day, I knew that if she could walk into a half-empty home, see a goodbye letter on the table, and still say nothing, then that silence told me everything I needed to know. I didn't want to string it along. I called the lawyer. If she had chosen to be done, I would finish what had begun. I wanted the first legal step to be mine. I explained everything and handed over the details. Within a week, she had divorce papers. Still no text, no call, no, "Can we talk?" No, "Why are you doing this?" She didn't respond at all. She hired a lawyer instead and pulled it to court. That clarified things even more. This was about winning, or at least about making sure I didn't. The process ran 7 months, long enough to feel the weight of every choice. We split things the way the court set them out. It wasn't about right or wrong. It was about filings and numbers and signatures. I was grateful to have kept a significant portion of my finances out of easy reach before, so they weren't split down the middle. And just like that, it was over. I walked out of the courthouse feeling like I'd been sleepwalking for years. Even with the odd emptiness that comes when a door seals shut, it was closed, officially closed. After the divorce, I didn't sprint toward anything. I didn't chase revenge or try to prove who I was without her. I turned toward myself for the first time in a long while. For years, I'd held off on things, not because I couldn't afford them, but because I planned in twos. In marriage, every big decision gets weighed through someone else's lens. Now it was just me. I owed myself some space. I started buying things I'd shelved. I even took a trip out of the country because I felt like it, and no one needed convincing. There were no debates, no permissions, no justifications. For the first time in too long, peace settled in and stayed. Almost a year after everything finalized, Sienna reached out. At first, she kept it light, like we were old classmates catching up. She was testing the waters. I didn't give her much. I'd made peace with what happened. That chapter was closed, and reopening it made no sense. The less I responded, the longer her messages became. There was weight in them. She wrote about how she thought freedom would feel like a rush, how she imagined she'd finally feel alive, unburdened, fully herself. That's not how it landed. She admitted, without saying it outright, that she'd been reckless. She'd lived big, assuming settlement money would stretch longer than it did. She thought her job would carry the life she was trying to perform. Reality doesn't care about wishes. The debt stacked. Interest ate her checks faster than she could fill them. She never directly asked for help, but the undertone was clear. She was sinking and wanted a rope, financial or otherwise. I didn't stay to find out which. I cut the conversation short. "I'm not interested in your tales," I said. It wasn't meant to be cruel. I just didn't have anything left to give her. Not sympathy, not closure, not a dollar. Some lessons arrive late, and not every decision can be reversed. Sometimes when you burn a bridge, you lose the right to cross where it used to be.